just talk super loud. The microphone's not great. We're not on Hollywood.
Okay.
But this is Brad Olson, and so maybe Brad, just tell us 60 seconds or less, who are you?
I'm Brad Olson. I live in Minnetonka. I've been selling real estate, helping people buy and sell homes since 26 years now, whatever that makes it, 1985 or so. Love what I do, and glad to be here at Zabrocki Real Estate Group.
Awesome. Why are you here? What's the 1, 2, or 3 reasons that you're here? Because there's 400 real estate companies out in the Twin Cities area. So why Zabrocki and why now?
Well, first of all, I've been here for I think it's 6 years now, and I was in my business for about 20 years, and the market started to change, and I really wasn't prepared for that. So I had a downturn in my business. You and I being friends, we talked. I had debated getting out of the business at that time, and you know, you just believed in me and talked to me about working together here. And you had already started some things that I had started to work on in my business, but hadn't really embraced those changes. And you already had them going, so I decided to come on board and just give it a try.
Nice. Awesome. And so how has it worked out for you?
Well, I would say it was probably a little bit of a slow start, again coming off of a downturn in my business for about 6 months, so my boat was kind of rocked, I guess I'd say, and maybe I was a bit unsure of myself, even after 20 years in the business. And so one thing that you encouraged me to do was to call my past clients, and I had a client list of, and plus other, besides just clients, people's sphere of influence, and I had over 1,000 people to call. And that was like moving a mountain for me. I did not want to do it. It's kind of odd now that I think of it that I was resistant to that. That's now kind of more of a pillar of my business.
Oh, great.
But that was a struggle for me. So I think it was a year later that I finally got through that. And by the time I got through it, I think I gained a lot of confidence. And so that was just one of the things that I started doing differently. Yeah, I would say that it's gone really well. I really enjoy the business a lot more now, and there's other changes that I've made to my business too.
Awesome. Have you seen any changes in your personal or professional life besides that stand out to you?
Yeah, I knew when I made this change that I'm a person of faith, and I believe that God directs my steps if I let Him, and I believe that this was going to be more than just for surviving in business. So I was looking to see what other things might come of it. And change is hard. Like I said, one example was calling past clients, talking to people. Some of them I hadn't talked to for 15, 16, 17 years. It was a hard phone call to make. But then, no, there's been a number of changes, and I think a much greater comfort level in just interacting with people.
Nice.
And just having relationships with people. I would say that the way I used to do things is we'd work hard to get a house sold or to help a buyer purchase a home, get all done and cross it off the list and move on. And I'm realizing that it's so important that client relationship is extremely valuable. And so now I treat that differently. Some things are little changes and some things are big changes.
Nice. Quick question for you. So when you started calling your past clients and friends, and you might not have talked to them for a decade, it sounds like, what were their responses? Were their responses, why are you calling me? Don't waste my time? Or were their responses a bit more genuine than that?
Well, I would have to say, nothing specific comes to mind right now. Just generally, it was more on me and my being uncomfortable with it than probably on their side. But also, you've taught us scripts and dialogues, which I didn't even like the idea of that. But scripts and dialogues don't have to be, that can just be a framework for your conversation. It can still be a genuine conversation. You just decide ahead of time that you're going to hit certain points. So I would say the answer to that is just depending on the conversation, but it was more about my comfort level in terms of how I handled the conversation. If I would stumble over my words and feel awkward, the conversation might not go as well. But as I got more comfort and confidence, it goes very well, even if the other person isn't at a time that they really want to receive that phone call. So little things. Hi, I'm calling. I've got a couple minutes before my next appointment. Just letting people know you're not going to keep them on the line for 20 minutes.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. Last final question. Because so many people have doubt, right? They doubt, boy, okay, it works for Brad, great. But, Brad's a good-looking guy. And, it works for Jonathan, but, Jonathan wears glasses. And it works for Christy Willis, but, gosh, she's a woman. And it works for David Ettman, but, he's, XYZ. And so there's so many of those doubts that maybe we have, and I've had them, and you've had them too, Brad. And, what would cause somebody watching this to say, you know what, I want to have the life experiences of just serving clients at a very high level, being more relational with people, but I just don't know. It just sounds too good to be true. So I'm not going to pick up the phone and call. I'm not going to come and hear what this is about. What would you say to those people?
Well, I do have the feeling that if I can do it, anybody can do it, because I was very resistant to it. And I think I was a typical real estate agent. I think most, and not all, but most probably have some of the feelings that I did, is once you're done with that transaction, you move on. And you're leaving behind you a potential great relationship, just because you're on to the next transaction. But to answer it as far as, can somebody else do it? Absolutely. And like I said, you've given a great roadmap for success, dialogues and scripts, but they don't have to be feeling like dialogues and scripts. You just have to get comfortable with them. But changes have to be made, but they aren't necessarily monumental, and you give a lot of encouragement, and you don't change the game plan. That's what we're subject to as a lot of times as realtors, is that we keep looking for a better mousetrap, and we don't just stay with something that works, which is really about building relationships, having good relationships with people, staying in touch, not being afraid to ask them who's the next person that's thinking about buying or selling a house. So it isn't, it's the same plan for everybody, and they can kind of conform it to their own personality in terms of how they interact with people.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Brad. I promised 8 minutes, and it's 7 minutes and 55 seconds. So nice. Thanks. Yep. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Phil?
Yeah. Thank you, Brad.